right, Coach, you can start us off.
All right, so first, credit to Oklahoma for playing a really hard game. Man, those guys, that's a hard out, man. To come in here and uh, get them, with that quarterback that keeps so many plays alive um, and healthy now. There's a reason those guys had beat everybody, but the Texas neutral game. Um, so proud of our guys. I just, you can't predict things, but, just talked at length last night to them about, overcoming adversity in games, in a season, in life. Use some parallels, kind of personal things with them, that you really either you can get knocked down, and everybody says you can get up. Well, you can get up, or you can get up and get stronger when you get up. And so I said to them, we're up 2 scores last week at Georgia, where they never lose except Alabama, and we didn't finish it off. We got knocked down. And so if that same situation happens today on the road, top 12 team, number 1 defense in the country, can we be stronger in those situations, especially defensively? So for that to happen was really cool, because that don't always happen in coaching, that you say something that happens. So it was cool that it did, and that they, we obviously should have ended there on offense, but it happened how it was supposed to happen. And we went back on defense and were able to win on defense. And really, defense, shut them out in the fourth quarter. So it's a 9-0 fourth quarter us on the road, where last week was 17-0 the other way. Very different fourth quarters as a team. So, this was a big win. This was hard, and you certainly didn't want to go on the road and lose the 2 in a row before you come home. So obviously we'd love to be undefeated, but I think a lot of people at the beginning of the year said you would have won all the ones at home and split these 2, you'd be feeling all right. So proud of our guys. That's an elite defense, elite players, elite coach. Whatever, they're giving up 9 points a game coming in. And their only loss was Texas, and they had the punt return. So what, they really scored 16 or something on offense against them. So 34 today, 2 by the defense. That's a heck of a job of a lot of people. So good to be in this spot, 7-1, and go home and play at home for the rest of the year.
Questions?
Like, what does it say about this team, not just to be able to bounce back within this game, but to bounce back after last week's heartbreaker and distractions and all these sorts of things? How did you guys manage to tune everything out and do what you did?
Yeah, I think it says a lot about them. And I ain't that coach. Like, I can't stand when coaches win a game and then all of a sudden we got everything figured out and we can overcome everything, and then they lose and then can't figure anything out. So I just think the style they won, it wasn't like there was just a missed field goal at the end or something. A lot of people did a lot of really good things today in that game, offensively, defensively, and then special teams. For Trace, a tight end, to force a fumble like that was awesome. So I think it says a lot about them, because when you have had something happen to you previously in a season, let alone 7 days ago, and that same feeling comes back today. Here we go again. We're ahead. All right, game's kind of in our control. Oh, wait. All right, now they're scoring a lot easier. We're not moving like we were. Same Georgia feeling. Crowd started coming alive. And then obviously much different response by us. And I didn't feel like they ever, kind of freaked out, and they had each other's back. We're going to coach extremely aggressive. We believe in our players. And it's not going to work all the time. And you're going to get criticized out when it doesn't. We go for the 4th and 1, and it's a bad snap. The run's going to be there, and so they get the ball on whatever that is, 25-yard line or something, and our defense holds them to a field goal. So they got each other's back today when things didn't go well, or when they made some explosive plays on offense, because it really was. We made them big little. We gave up some explosive plays, but much different feeling than last week. 14 first downs we gave up. We gave up 34 last week.
11 play 75-yard drive to take the lead in the fourth quarter. I mean, obviously that was critical. Was there something about that drive that gave you confidence that you guys were going to be okay? I mean, given that, the crowd was kind of getting into it,
Yeah.
They were taking the lead. They felt like they had momentum there.
Yeah, and against, the best defense in the country at their place, and that's when they come alive, man. Yeah, I felt good because of the guy taking the snap every time, the quarterback. I'm never going to go sit up here. Man, this is his perfect game plan. Those guys they bring blitz zero a lot, and they do a lot of different things, and this quarterback helps you a lot when you don't block everybody. So he made some huge plays in the game.
You mentioned Trace Brooklyn too, Lane. I mean, that's a guy that wasn't heralded as far as transfer coming from New Mexico State. How has he come along into having a touchdown and then, like you said, making that play on special teams, making an impact in that way?
Yeah, I think that's how this team is. I kind of felt coming in the year like we don't have maybe as many elite guys as last year, or that they're younger, like Kiwan, Winnie. So you're going to need these wins. You're going to need close ones. Not now what every game has been one score, right? It feels like. And you're going to need guys to make significant plays. Daquan was very limited today in what he could do. I actually tried to, take him out. Not that it was a medical non-clearance thing. I just felt he was playing with a major injury today, and he just put himself back in, and so it's really cool to have guys like that. We live in a world that they ain't all like that anymore. They start listening to agents and their draft status, and they sit out as soon as they got an injury. So really cool by him.
Feels like we ask you about Kiwan all the time, but days like today, he's just a workhorse for you guys. What did he do today, and what has he just meant to your team?
Yeah, he hasn't had the giant yardage numbers the last 2 weeks, versus really good defenses and hard defenses to run the ball on. But there's hidden yards in there that are so critical. Before the half, he's on that left sideline and he makes probably 5-6 extra yards, which gets us down to maybe like the 2 or 3, and then we run the goal line run that he scores on. Well, if he didn't get those extra yards, he can't do that. He can't get to that package. So there's a lot of plays. He almost ended the game on the first down play where he made 8, and we couldn't make 2 yards on 2 plays. But he's really elite, and he took care of the ball. That's 2 weeks in a row on the road, really good defenses, 0 turnovers, 1 combined sack, and that has a lot to do with him in protection too.
What things do you have to think about when you're deciding to put Austin in, and how do you feel like he played today?
Yeah. Austin missed the pop throw. There's some schematical things, like especially with this head coach we're playing against, that there's some mind games going on there. Not mind games, but just chess. And Austin's got talent, and so he missed one today that we had a schematical open touchdown, and I thought his throw was fine on the 2-point. We dropped it, or else that's very different. At the end right there, because now we're at 10 instead of 8.
Playing 2 road environments.
And I think too, it's hard to prepare for. Everybody plays the other way. Everybody over time played the other way. Like, here's the better thrower, necessarily is what people would say, whatever. And here's a guy that's more dual threat. And then so they put in the runner, like as a changeup. Well, why wouldn't you do the other way too? So even though, we dropped one of them today, he misses one today, that's hard, especially when they're both in there too sometimes. It's hard to game plan against, I think. Ask them. I bet they would say it's challenging.
And just kind of immediate post-game thoughts, how you felt Trinidad did, second straight kind of hostile environment.
Yeah, I thought he was great. I thought he did what the team, he was the example of what the team did, where it was here goes the same thing. And he makes some really good throws, like he makes the corner out throw. They're kind of at the same time where he started where he missed a corner route last week at Georgia, different coverage, but and then we trust him. We trust our player. We run a very unique double move to Winnie Watkins because the way they were playing, and they're very aggressive. They take away a lot of things. And in my opinion, the only way to play against them is you've got to take risks, and you're not going to have a high completion percentage day against them. But you got to take, you got to take some risks, and we did that. And that was an example where Winnie and he made a big play.
The defense kind of came off of, not forcing a stop at all against Georgia last week, but had a safety today, a turnover on downs, and made Oklahoma punt a couple of times. What kind of changed in the way they executed today?
I think that we didn't make as many mistakes. We made a couple, but last week Georgia's made some really good plays. But there were a lot of times we weren't making them work. The guys just open, or blow a coverage, and these guys had to work a little bit more for it. Obviously, like when we talk about giving up 34 first downs last week to 14 this week.
Prince Will, was this more of the kind of what you're looking for when you signed? This was real impact today. Just feel the effort coming off the field. Just, tied for the team leading tackles and sacks. Just how disruptive was it good to see him like that?
Yeah, it was great. He actually had another sack guy right there. He missed him, but that was much needed, and obviously when you rush, it helps the coverage, and we just talked like, hey, we need him to step up and be like that, especially because we know what it's like on the other side. Like this week, they have to play against these guys constantly throughout the game, just concerned with negative plays happening, sack caused fumbles, like what these guys do to other people. They had 10 sacks in a game this year, and so we game planned a lot around that today. They had 1 sack, now they could have a couple other, and Trinidad bailed us out, but it's really good that Princely and some rush showed up today.
Lane, at the end of the game, went to the fans, through the visor.
Yeah.
Thoughts on the traveling fans and your thoughts about this road win in totality?
I just think now, like, I don't like to say I'm older because I don't really like to be old, but like when I told him last night, like, as I get older, guys, I just want to tell you things that I didn't do and stuff, that hopefully you do different. And, I just was always like, we go win these games and everything, get back to the locker room, let's go get on a plane. And I was like, just enjoy the moment, man. These are hard to do. They're hard to come by. So everybody was going to the locker room, so I sent for them to come back out. I didn't have a plan. I just, hey, let's go down there and say thanks to the fans, but also enjoy the moment, man. You're in a iconic stadium that has won 1 million games here, and you did something really special. So, take in the moment. So just always get into the next thing. It's kind of what I did with my whole life, and so I just try to help them with that.
You guys obviously have put yourselves in position now by winning today. Everything's kind of in front of you. You kind of control your own destiny. Is it going to be difficult just to get guys to focus on one game at a time and not think about all the playoff picture discussion that's coming in the next few days?
I don't think so, just because we don't. That's like not even our language. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't talk to them like about that and playoffs and where you're ranked and any of that stuff. I just don't. That's just my philosophy. Never have. We really, actually I did when I was younger. And it's been a lot of years now. I don't talk to them that way because it's just about staying in the process. And that probably was going to coach for those 3 years. Coach Saban and learning that, like, get caught up in all that noise and. He says rat poison versus just none of that matters. What matters is getting better in these individual areas so that you finish off games like this.
Lane, you had that moment with David Stone at the end of the game for yourself, just the emotions of being in this moment. You talked about reflecting. What is it? Not specifically, but just the moment of you walking off this field with an SEC road win in a place like this.
Is that number 0?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure. I was like, who's David Stone? But then I knew. That's just me. He was talking the whole game to me, and I did a good job, I felt, of not talking back. He just kept telling me we ain't going to score and all this, so I didn't go try to find him. He was just walking by, so I just saw him. So that's just kind of me. Guy's a great player, man. I'm sure he's really enjoyable to coach.
Coach, you talked about only 1 sack in the last 2 games for your Ole Miss offensive line. You mentioned before the season started with me that you really want to see a turnaround from your offensive line unit. What have you seen over them throughout the season today? What has made them so successful throughout SEC play for you this season?
I think they've just done a good job coming together. Again, now that's Georgia's gives you problems. These guys give you elite problems, man. They give you more problems than anybody I remember in 6 years. because if you don't play the game, and you can't play too safe, and then you ain't going to go anywhere against them. But if you aren't conscious of their scheme and all the Z blitzing and number 32 0 now, like if you're not conscious of where these people are, to me, you're going to have some games like you've seen some other people do this year against them. So it's a really good job by the line of helping us and taking that game plan and limiting negative plays on pass plays, which these guys have just, thrived on, especially 3rd and 4th downs.
We're gonna wrap it, Coach. We have players in here next.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks,
All right.
Appreciate it.
You got it.